Welcome to the Pulse. Today we're going to talk about the data hoarder. Data hoarding is the compulsive acquisition of items that have a perceived value to the person that is acquiring them, which basically means that the rest of the society might not agree with the fact that there is intrinsic value. We see similar things happening today, not just people hoarding clothes or shoes or anything that they think is useful for them, but people are hoarding data. And what hoarding data basically means is they want to load data lakes or data pools or puddles in the idea of, as data is an enterprise asset, why don't we capture it? And if we capture it, then we are increasing the value of our organization. Not exactly true, because a clear statement in capturing information is that it has to have added value. And the added value is not coming from having the data itself, but it's coming from the fact that you can make practical use of it. And that's where most of the companies go wrong, because they can't make practical use of it. They capture it, but they don't really know how to make sense of it. So the question is whether you are a hoarder or somebody that gets data and then has the appropriate function to make sense of it. Hoarding or storing it as such is not an issue, because the cost of storing data is going down dramatically every year. So it costs less and less to store a terabyte. It costs also less and less to process a terabyte. But the question is not if you process it at what price you can do it, but is there any risk attached by having the data? And with the latest things that are happening in terms of privacy and the fines that are associated with that, only have a look at the number of data breaches that occurred recently. That's a quite impressive number. You will notice that the value is not only there if it's at the same time a risk that might be bigger than the value that you have out of the data. So the question that you need to ask yourself is not whether you should store it and what's the price of storing the gigabyte, but the question is, do you really have the ability to make sense of it? And if the answer is no, if you can't make sense of it, then it's probably better not to store the data, but to dispose of it, to get rid of it. Because just capturing and hoping that one day you might have a right use of it is probably a leap of faith that you don't want to make. So the point is, be careful not to become a data hoarder, and make sure that when you store data, that you have an appropriate function that makes sense of it, and you assign also significant metadata so that you understand what you captured. That's the only thing that will keep you from having a compulsive behavior or a disease, and actually making your organization data-driven. So don't be a hoarder, have somebody that creates the data insight for you to get useful stuff out of the data that you keep. Thanks for this one, and see you next time.